we can't ask Israel to stand down if they believe there is still a legitimate violent threat against them and their people. And I think there's no question that there is. And so they must continue to fight until they have degraded that capability to a point where they can say to their people, come back and live here safely and securely. Until that comes, I don't think calls for a ceasefire make any sense.
All right, so joining me now is that man, 2024 presidential candidate, Governor Christie. Governor, you went to Ukraine, and now you've gone to Israel. Why does Christie find himself in Ukraine and Israel?
Eric, look, I think if you want to be a credible candidate for president and you ultimately want to be president of the United States, you need to see these things for yourself. You can't rely on, briefings from so-called experts who may have a certain particular point of view. You need to get on the ground, see these things for yourself with your own eyes. And for me, too, I want to feel the emotion of what's going on there. I want to look these people in the eye and let them know that the United States cares about what's going on in their country, and we understand that there's a plight they're going through that, if appropriate, we can be helpful with. And I think in Israel, what I saw, Eric, was just absolutely sickening. The attack on October 7th was not only brutal and inhumane, but what I saw was the joy that these terrorists displayed in visiting this inhumanity on these innocent civilians. Some of the stuff I saw in the kibbutz, and you're showing pictures now, that was a beautiful place that housed hundreds of people and is now completely decimated. And one place I went into, Eric, was the home of a newly married 24-year-old couple. She was murdered while lying on her couch reading a book. And I saw the couch, and it was still soaked with her blood. And her husband heard the gunshots, came out of their bedroom, and he was shot in the door of his bedroom. His blood all over the floor of their bedroom still. And I counted, Eric, in that house, there were 140 bullet holes in their walls. These are the kind of animals we're dealing with. And those folks can't be asked. That kibbutz, by the way, Eric, where you just saw the photos, was 600 yards away from the Gaza border. You cannot ask for people to go back to that place until you can assure them that you've rooted out the military capability of Hamas.
I think as a 2024 presidential candidate, you should be there. You should bring light, bring a megaphone to the atrocities that are going on. And as I have told the audience many times, I have a Jewish wife, and I know people appreciate, Jews here appreciate when someone goes there and makes that effort. Governor, let's talk a little bit about 2024. The reason why I bring this up is Tim Scott dropped out within the last week. In Iowa, Trump is really trouncing the group, 43, DeSantis and Haley 16. You're doing well in New Hampshire, Trump 42, Christie 14, DeSantis 9, and in South Carolina 53, 42, Haley, DeSantis 11. Here's my question, Chris, Governor, is it time for you to drop out? I mean, Tim Scott dropped out. I mean, at some point the GOP has to winnow the field down to Trump and someone else. Talk to me. Why should it be you that doesn't drop out?
Well, look, the field is being winnowed. Now it's really down to 4 people now. To me, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Donald Trump. And the fact is that, Eric, if you go back, that is the fewest number of candidates we've had in a year where there's not an incumbent running in this century. And so this field has been winnowed. And you know who will winnow it more? The voters of Iowa and the voters of New Hampshire. But I've qualified for the 4th debate. I'm ready to go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and participate in that debate and continue to fight. I'm here in New Hampshire. I've been here today. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll take the weekend back in New Jersey, and I'll be back here Monday and Tuesday before people start to celebrate Thanksgiving.
So
I want to remind you of one other thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Eric, let me just remind you of one other thing, though. In 2007, on this date, in 2007, there was a poll, and Rudy Giuliani was 14 points ahead of Mitt Romney, and John McCain was in 3rd place, 18 points behind. So there's a lot of work still to be done here, and I'm not going anywhere.
So one thing I've noticed is early, let's call it the Fox primary. Fox News has spoken. It was Ron DeSantis. They bailed, jumped off that bandwagon fairly quickly, and they've jumped onto the Nikki Haley bandwagon. They've they've picked her as their corporate media darling. How do you compete with that, Chris?
Well, it didn't do much good for Ron DeSantis, did it? So I'm not really worried about it. I don't think networks pick winners of primaries, whether it's Fox News or your network or anybody else's. I don't think they pick winners. I think the voters pick winners. And I think what the candidates say matter. And, you know, in the end, everyone knows who I am and what I stand for. And they're going to be able to make a very clear judgment. It's less clear with Nikki Haley, who just yesterday was talking about.
Let me ask you, Chris.
Wanting to know.
I've been doing this a long time. Okay. A strategist. I mean, you have people who donate Mooch's money. You're spending Mooch's money like this. Why not focus that money against beating Joe Biden? You've chosen the strategy to go after Trump, and frankly, I don't think Haley has. I don't know if DeSantis has. They both have gone after the left or their woke issue, whatever. But going after Trump doesn't seem to be working. I mean, is it the time to change the strategy? You still have a year.
No, it's not time to change the strategy. The guy who's 20 points ahead is the guy you have to beat to be the nominee, Eric. And that's why I think the Haley and DeSantis strategy is so ineffective, and why Ron DeSantis is now in single digits in New Hampshire. Because he's not making the case against the one person who you need to beat if you want to be the Republican nominee for president, and that's Donald Trump. And by the way, the reason I make that case is not just because I want to win, but I want our party to win. And he will not beat Joe Biden from, a courtroom in Washington, D.C. when he's being tried for crimes. And now, Eric, his own chief of staff has signed up to testify against him. Not some, woke prosecutor, not some crazy Democrat from the Justice Department. Mark Meadows, one of the founders of the Freedom Caucus, and his chief of staff is going to testify that Donald Trump committed crimes and instructed Eric, and instructed him to commit crimes. Mark Meadows, you would call him a hero weeks ago. Come on.
No,
Don't interrupt me when I start to say things that make people uncomfortable.
I'm just a numbers guy. I'm just a numbers guy. It's insurmountable. Let's be honest. It is insurmountable to overtake Donald Trump by any of these people, unless, of course, something dramatic happens with Trump in his personal life, being convicted of something or worse.
Nothing dramatic could possibly happen in Donald Trump's life. I'm not a numbers guy, by the way, Eric. I'm a character guy. And I think we deserve better as the Republican Party and as the United States than a guy who's going to be convicted of felonies this April to be our nominee, Chris, and to try to be our president.
By a bunch of liberal Democrats that are trying to take him down because they fear him.
No.
Guess what? If Chris Christie was 53%,
not by a bunch of liberal Democrats.
They probably have your butt in the courtroom too.
No, I'm not going to put up with you saying that. He's going to be convicted by Mark Meadows, a founder of the Freedom Caucus, and his chief of staff, who he called the next James Baker. That guy is now testifying and will sit 20 feet away from Donald Trump in a courtroom, taking an oath and saying he committed crimes and he directed others to commit crimes, including me. That's what he's going to say.
All right.
And that's not some woke prosecutor. That's not some group of liberals. That's a guy who founded the Freedom Caucus in the House, a Republican from North Carolina, and his choice for chief of staff. Eric, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a character guy. And when Mark Meadows gets on that stand, everything I've been saying about Donald Trump that you've been making fun of me about for months is going to wind up being true. The truth is coming, baby.
I don't make fun of you. Christie, you know I don't make fun of you. You know we have a long history. We go a long way back. I am the numbers guy. And we'll see. We shall see, as they say. Christie, thank you.
You be the numbers guy. I'll be the character guy. We'll see what happens.
Together we may just, I don't know, we'll conquer the world. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.